All right, welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani. Good to have you all with me today. Wherever you're dialing in from, we want to know who you are so that we can acknowledge you. We have been in a 2-week series on why we cheat, and I hope that it's been somewhat insightful for you. And we're going to be closing out this series with this last show. If you have been following us, you know we've been talking about 3 particular factors that people engage in that contribute to the betrayal. Number 1 would be personal factors. Number 2, relational factors, things happening in the relationship. And number 3, social factors, right? What's happening outside of the home? What's happening outside of the relationship that contributes to this type of behavior? We've given an incalculable number of things to consider. And so we want to close this out by talking about things that may not be directly related to your relationship, but does take a toll and have an influence. So let's go to the first one. We're talking about peer pressure. Now, this is huge because sometimes when we hear that term peer pressure, we think in the terms of children. You know, when you're a child, you don't want to give in to peer pressure, whether it's drugs or sex or alcohol or violence or just bad influence of other people. But peer pressure doesn't end because you're an adult. Peer pressure can exist even in your adulthood. And the pressure that you face can either be positive or negative. If I'm around positive reinforcing individuals who are thriving for the best things in their personal life and their relationship, then that pressure is a positive peer pressure. Because if everyone else is doing well, listen, I want to be doing well as well. I don't want to be the weakest link in the chain. I want to be on par with where they are. Likewise, on the flip side, oftentimes people congregate and are in relationship with and are a part of groups and associations where people do dirt. Everybody's cheating. Everybody's acting a fool. Everybody's in a hellhole, miserable relationship. And guess what? You become a product of your environment. As they say, birds of a feather flock together. And so you begin to take on the behavior and the mannerisms of the people that you congregate with. And so that's why they say, if you ever want to know where you're going to be in life, take a close look at your friends, because where they are, you will eventually be just by association. So these social circles, if we're honest, can oftentimes condone and engage in behaviors that are reminiscent of betrayals, like infidelity. And so what happens is you begin to take on a mentality and an attitude that's just like, well, I mean, it happens. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? And that very cavalier, casual type of approach can wind up causing you to be in a situation that compromises the integrity of your relationship. And so if cheating is normalized by the environments that you congregate in, it can be a problem. That is a social influencer that contributed to my decision to have an affair. Let's go to the next. Media and pop culture. It seems like every time you turn on the television and the radio and flip through magazines, there's always messaging that really supports scandalism, right? It supports illicit affairs and the excitement and the thrill and the passion and the stolen love and the forbidden sex and all these different things. And it's so sensationalized. Media has a way of doing that. I wrote a book called Pimpin' from the Pulpit to the Pews, Exposing and Expelling the Spirit of Lust in the Church. And we talk about one of the contributing factors to sexual immorality in society. And so we do a comparative analysis because in the scripture, we know that God established a 5-fold ministry for the perfecting of the saints. Right? So you have teachers and apostles and pastors and evangelists. You have all of these people that God has ordained and given them specific skill sets to be able to equip the believers for the perfecting of the saint. But Satan, we know that he duplicates and he perverts. So just as God has his 5-fold, Satan has his 5-fold. And he uses his 5-fold ministry for the perversion of the saints. So while God believes in sexual purity, Satan believes in sexual immorality, and he will use the media and the 5-fold aspect of it, television, film, radio, the internet, and print media, magazines, billboards. He'll use all of these media forms and outlets to what? Reinforce a message that says, if it feels good, do it. And you only live once. And why be trapped by commitment when you can have everything that you so desire? If you're not happy, isn't the goal to be happy? Like, so it reinforces the messages. And so it's in song form, music form, it's in visual video form, it's in text form, and it's so pushed out there that you begin to get inundated with it. And if that's what you're consuming, if that is your diet, it begins to change your philosophy and your belief system. That's why you got to guard your eye gate. You got to be careful what you allow into these eyes. You got to guard your ear gate. You got to be careful what you allow into these ears. You got to guard your mouth gate. You got to be careful who you talk to. And so if you're surrounded by everything that reinforces the same type of message, do it, do it, do it, and it desensitizes morality, then you will find yourself in a situation that you never ever thought that you would get into. Another contributing factor is what we call technological access, right? Now think about technological access. We live in a very digital media world, and because of the influx of technology, particularly social media, you have social media, you have dating apps, you have forums, you have all of these online platforms that allows you to be whoever you want to be, that allows you to hide, that allows you to have some sense of anonymity. You could begin doing things in private without anyone ever knowing. You can create all types of images and personas and personalities to hide who you really are, but yet explore the pleasures of a forbidden world. And oftentimes these online interactions turn into offline engagement, and then they wind up becoming out of line to the marriage. And we've seen affairs take place as a result of social media. In fact, many years ago, there was a study done on divorce, and it said that the high influx and increase of divorce was due to Facebook in particular, because you have the ability of connecting with people that you haven't seen in a long time, past lovers, past partners, people you were always interested and intrigued in, but never really broached that, that type of relationship, but now you can. People you don't know, you can poke, you can ding, you can DM, you can do all types of things, you can share, you can like, and you can engage in ways because you have access to so many more people. And it's not like technology is evil. It doesn't. Technology just makes you a bigger version of what you already are. So if you're integral, technology is not going to take that away from you. It's going to reinforce your integrity. If you're immoral, technology can't change that. It's just going to reinforce what you're already dealing and struggling with. When we understand that, then we know how to properly engage in technology. So technology is not the devil. Social media is not the devil. But if you're struggling with particular things, it will certainly give you much greater access to the things that you're looking for. Another contributing factor, a social factor that influences betrayal, is travel and mobility. Now, some of you have careers where you travel a lot. You're always on the road. You're going to conventions and seminars and all types of things. And being in other physical locations, it gives you a pass. There's certain couples, interestingly enough, who have already defined what is considered appropriate or inappropriate in the confines of their marriage. And so there are these rules that they've established. Like, listen, if you're outside of a 35-mile radius or 50-mile radius, whatever you do. It's not considered cheating. But if you're within the confines of our geographical location and you do anything inappropriate, it's cheating. Now, how situational in ethics is that? And it's just insane. It's insane. It's not black and white. There's all this gray area that they've created for themselves, which creates problems. Now, while some do have those arrangements and still break them, others do not. But some people give themselves a green light and a pass to do something because guess what? No one's around. No one's going to find out. It's just for one night. It's just a physical thing. It's just a business trip. This just comes along with business trips. I'm just on a vacation with the boys. In fact, some of us travel to locations in order to engage in illicit sex. Yeah, we have to pay for it. But guess what? Oh my God, the fulfillment and the pleasure and the desire that's fulfilled that I'm not getting in my relationship, it was worth the trip. And don't think men are the only one, because women do it too. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. So there's no gender that can escape this reality. It's not like men have a monopoly on this type of behavior when it comes to traveling and engaging in sex that they think no one will find out about. Both genders happen to do the same thing. And this can be a huge influencer in terms of the betrayals that people experience in their relationships. Another one would be family influences. Now, what does that mean? Either from my childhood, what I've observed in my home, mom and dad didn't have the greatest relationship. There was betrayal there. And I saw it. I had a front row seat to it. Or maybe I didn't see it, but guess what? I always knew. We always kind of knew. There was this sensing. There was this knowingness. We couldn't put our finger on it, but something just wasn't right. And subconsciously, that seeped into my personal relational patterns. And so that influence has impacted me even in my adulthood. Or maybe I didn't see it in my home and it didn't happen in my home, but my siblings or my close friends or my aunts or my uncles, just the environment that I was in. I grew up in a particular era or time period or geographical location where everybody was doing it. You know, I come from a household of pimps. My father and my uncles and my brothers, man, they were pimps. So they had a tendency of desexualizing or objectifying women. And so women were only good for one thing. And so even in my adult relationship, that mentality never shifted. And so I still had the same method, the same mindset, the same approach, not towards my wife, because that's my love, but towards other women. And so I continued to engage with other women in an inappropriate way based upon my psychology, based upon my pathology. And that thing never broke. And I'm still suffering from it, even within the confines of my marriage. And so sometimes family can be the culprit, either from upbringing or my existing reality as an adult. Because not everybody has the same approach to marriage and commitment and fidelity and gender. And so if I'm around this type of mindset and philosophy, it can impact me in a significant way. We're talking about the social factors, not personal, not relational, but social. These influences oftentimes can impact how I show up in the relationship. You're watching a Couples Academy show. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We will be right back. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about conditions that made me cheat. So what do you mean? You're blaming it on conditions and circumstances? Well, listen, it's not an excuse. It's a contributing factor. Now, ultimately, I made the decision. I pulled the trigger. I did the deed. But listen, there are influences. There are things that happen to us, around us, that shape our perspective and our behavior and cause us to do what it is that we do. And so what we need to do is identify what these key things are so that we can overcome them so that they're no longer contributing factors to the why. One of the biggest, you would have thought that I would have started with this as number one, but one of the biggest social influencers, the workplace. Oh yeah, workplace dynamics. If I'm honest, if I think about, what percentage of the couples that we work with have experienced infidelity on the job? Probably around a good 40 to 50%. It was someone that they were around, that they work with, that they did assignments and had projects with. They were on the same team. They were in the same building. The workplace. Because think about it. The two biggest milestones that have increased significantly the rate of infidelity: social media and the workplace. There was a time when men and women were separate. They lived and worked in their own silos. But once women got rights and were able to enter into the workplace, and men and women were in close proximity, year after year, decade after decade, the rate of infidelity has skyrocketed. And if we're on the same team, working towards the same goal, and we have to coordinate, and we have to engage, and we have to strategically think through, and we have to partner up, and we have to put on energy and effort, we win as a team, we lose as a team. We celebrate as a team, we mourn as a team. In that interaction, think about it. If I'm with my spouse, but when I'm with my spouse, I'm not really with her because we're not necessarily in the best place. We may pass the time away by watching our favorite TV shows, but are we engaging? Are we connecting? Not really. Yes, we may eat a meal together, maybe, but oftentimes we're eating at different times in different places because we got different things going on. You're connected to the things that you're interested in, social media. I'm connected to the things I'm interested in, sports channel. So we're not really connected to each other. But when I'm at work, I can't do all those other things. I got to focus. And I'm focused on and focused with someone that I'm spending several hours with. 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 hours a day in a shift. And I'm building relationship, and I'm building rapport, and I'm establishing intimacy, which is intimacy. Hey, how was your weekend? Tell me about what you did this weekend. What are your interests? Like, we work together, I don't even know you. So you're taking the time to get to know, you're building rapport. You're looking forward to conversations the next day. I can't talk to my wife, can't talk to my husband. We're just not in a good place. I have relief when I go to work. The last thing I want to do is come back home. So I'm building relationship, I have companionship, I have chemistry and connection with. It's so easy for one thing to lead to the next thing. And because we don't have boundaries in our relationship, slowly but surely, I begin to see things differently in you. You understand me. My spouse, she just doesn't get it. I mean, I can't remember the last time that I even got a compliment. I mean, every single morning you have something so nice to say to me. I cannot resist your pursuit. I cannot resist your words. You give me life, your level of support and care. It's not just about the work, it's about me. The workplace has become a hotbed because we're not in a good place and we haven't defined what is appropriate and inappropriate. We're just friends. We're just talking about the weekend. I've got to be social. I can't be weird and awkward and inappropriate. And so before you know it, lunchtime, hey, you want to go to lunch? I know we only got an hour, but I know you like sandwiches, right? Yeah, I was going to go to the sandwich shop. We'll be right quick. We'll be right back. It'll be quick. And in that time, you drift off from the office, and it's just the two of you. And now you're laughing and you're joking and The last thing I want to talk about is work. Listen, we've been working for 8 hours straight. Can we talk about anything but work? Tell me about you. This is how it happens. And this is why when betrayals happen at work, when you remain on that job or with that company, and so does the affair partner, work becomes a major trigger. So every time you get up and leave, I'm triggered because I don't have eyes on you. I don't have ears on you. I don't know what you're doing. You could be saying, I'm in a meeting, but you're really not. Yeah, what kind of meeting are you in? I know that your cubicle is right next to, it's overwhelming for me. And that's why trust is such a major issue. The social factor of work presents a problem. This is why some people quit. They realize that there's a financial consequence to saving the marriage. And guess what? If I have to go to the extreme measures of quitting my job, of asking for a relocation, of asking to be put in another department, some people have literally sold their home, crossed state lines, moved into a completely different state to start over from scratch because the workplace was the trigger. I know people who were 1 to 2 years away from retirement and had to make some serious decisions. And for those that chose to stay, the level of accountability and transparency was on a whole nother level. But these are the things that you have to be willing to do if you want to restore your relationship. And if not, boy, oh boy, it will cause a problem. But another contributing factor, socioeconomic upheaval. Oh yeah. So that can look like two different things. From a macro perspective, the economy has shifted. Jobs are being lost left and right. Companies are shutting down. Industries are changing. The dollar is crashed. So many things are happening. And guess what? It hit my doorstep. I lost my job. I'm struggling to pick up work. I'm in crisis. This level of crisis has created conflict in the marriage. And so as a result of it, I now slip into a depression because as a man, I'm the provider. I'm the one who pays all the bills, and I can't be for my family what I need to be. I feel less than who I am. I'm dealing with self-esteem. I'm dealing with depression. We're fussing and fighting every day. It's not my fault. I don't know what to do. My skill set is in one particular area. You're telling me to switch careers, go to a different industry. I don't know anything about that. I've been doing this for the last 35 years. I don't know how I'm going to respond. And in my moment of crisis and weakness, I just need relief. I just need to escape from my present reality, and result of the financial challenges that I'm facing, I slip off. I just need to feel good for just a minute. I just need to be free for just a minute. I just need to not feel for just a minute. So what do? I go to the bar. I go to the strip club. I go to places and spaces that do not support my commitment. I get drunk. I get lost in my own sorrows. And drinking and being in the wrong environment and feeling sad about myself, I do things that compromise my integrity in my marriage. That's just one scenario. It's not just the man. Women struggle with this too. See, as a man, I'm talking from the perspective of what I deal with. As a counselor, as a coach, we deal with betrayals on both sides. There was a time when you heard the word cheating, it was automatically associated with the male gender. Not so in 2024. Women's infidelity is on the rise. Oh, you better believe it. I would say, just say a rough estimation, 60-40 split. 60% of the people who come to us, the husband was unfaithful. 40%, the wife. Oh yeah. So there are problems that are happening beyond the bedroom, beyond the home. One of the biggest things that are really affecting, this says social support systems, but what I want to say is societal influences. Gender means something altogether different. The reasons why people would marry 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago are not the reasons that they're marrying today. Masculinity and femininity What it used to mean is not what it means today. There's an over-sexualization attached to gender in a way that it wasn't always the case. What it takes to get a man and keep a man, get a woman and keep a woman, is different today. Now listen, people were always doing dirt. Listen, I'm not saying that people were more moral back in the day. I'm saying every single decade, there's a shift in the culture and the societal norms. And even though things took place decades ago, there's more of a societal acceptance to do whatever you want to do. And it's impacting what happens in a home. It is insane that you have married people listening to single people give advice about marriage. You have single women trying to teach married women. If I had a man, see, the problem with you wives are you don't You have married men listening to single men who aren't married, who can't keep a relationship, get advice on how you should think about and treat your wife, your woman. No wonder marriages are falling apart. We're going to all the wrong sources for the answer and wonder why things aren't working out. Marriage is not a social construct. It is not a creation of man. Marriage as an institution was created by God. It is his first institution. So if he created it, wouldn't it make sense to go back to the source to find out how to fix this thing, how to work things out? Of course it would. But see, we want to do things our own way. And when we do things our own way, we get the fruit of our actions and our deeds. And oftentimes the fruit is rotten and spoiled and doesn't produce anything that is healthy and whole for the relationship. These are some of the social influences and factors that impact a marriage. Now, if you remember, we talked about personal, relational, and social factors. And really, it's not either or, it's a combination of all of them that creates pressure that I don't know what to do with, that causes me to engage in a betrayal that can either be emotional, sexual, or hybrid. And a hybrid affair simply means it is both emotional and sexual. And so this is where I find myself. This is the pathway. So if we understand what the contributing factors are, now it's our responsibility to do something about it. Listen, guys, the whole objective of this series was to give you more insight on the why. Because once we comprehensively understand the why, now we can create a pathway that leads to your healing and to your restoration. Hope that you got something out of this session, out of this series. Now, I'm going to say it again. What you need to do, you need to sit down with your partner and you need to have conversations. If you're struggling to have them, you know what to do. We've been saying it from day one. You need to reach out to us. You need to call this number on the screen, 678-200-8996, so that we can talk with you about potential options that can turn things around. Set up a discovery call. Go to the website. See what services we have. We have been created and designed and have been in operation for 15 years to help you restore what is broken, and you can do it. So I thank you for being a part of this series. This just helps us transition into the next one, which I'm really excited about. But until then, have an amazing day. Tomorrow's Friday, and you know what that means is Ask the Experts. So tune in tomorrow. Let's do this all over again. Talk to you soon.